Was the comment that they?
Non-discussion. So,
Very good.
yeah, some like to do the motion, some, but it doesn't matter.
Like zero?
Parking.
This one.
Yeah, but it's,
Could all stand and remove hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Misty, could you do a roll call for us, please? Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Commissioner Stanfield.
Here.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Here.
Commissioner Jackman.
Here.
Aliens.
City Attorney Sandow.
Here.
Planning and Zoning Administrator Allen.
Here.
Planning and Zoning Administrative Assistant Misty here. Ooh, we still got a big old echo.
Thank you. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes of the last meeting? Any discussion, corrections, additions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move we approve the motion, or the minutes as written.
I'd second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move right into our consent agenda. We have the finding of facts for the conditional use permit to have 4 llamas per acre in a low-density residential zone. A finding of facts for an annexation for a portion of that big long number there, a zone change for another long number. And we have finding of facts for a conditional use permit to have a bakery and a manufacturing M1 zone. Any concerns, any issues anyone wants to bring up regarding the consent agenda?
No, just that correction.
We had one correction on the bakery.
Yeah, instead of a home occupation, it was listed as a bakery. I've made that change, so you just do a motion to approve with that.
So I'd entertain a
That
motion
clear.
to approve.
I move we approve it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is a report on any ex parte communication or conflicts of interest. Are there any? All right. Okay, we'll begin with the action items for the public hearing. We have the adoption of the amended Zone 11 zoning regulations, Chapter 9 landscaping regulations, Section 4 approved tree species, and Section 6 distant regulations for tree planting, and Chapter 10 trees, Section 8 species of trees permitted, and the adoption of a master tree list, or master list of trees, City of Blackfoot.
Yes, this code updates the master list of trees as per city code, updates language on who decides on how it's updated with Parks and Rec, as well as any advisor from an arborist that would recommend adding any trees or removing any trees, including height information and formatting information.
We got a full crowd.
Okay. We're going to open a public hearing on this issue. There are no one has signed up to speak in favor. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this? Okay. Anyone neutral or opposed? All right, I guess we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion about this item? Nope. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to recommend.
I move that we recommend the tree list with the species as listed.
All right.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second and a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Guess I ought to ask that. All right, the next item is adoption of amended Title 11 zoning regulations, Chapter 4A residential zones, Section 7 city use district regulations, parking, loading, and access, City of Blackfoot.
This is to adopt parking regulations to include starting with 3 spaces and removing any conflict of interest to it, and medium density and high density lots.
Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing on this issue. We have, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people to vote in favor, or excuse me, testify in favor. So we'll start with Ashley Bradshaw. Would you please state your name and your address?
Ashley Bradshaw, 2011 Highland Drive. I think requiring more parking in these type of environments is awesome. I've lived in apartments and there's never enough parking, so all in favor.
All right, thank you. Okay, Heather McPhee.
Heather McPhee, 519 West 55 South. I concur with this. We do have parking issues all over the city, and asking for more parking for these units is very important to keep our city well planned. Thank you.
All right, have Sherilyn Goodworth.
I feel like we need to.
Would you please state your name? I'm sorry.
Sherilyn Goodworth, 62 Hill Ridge Avenue.
Thank
I
you.
think we should be really cautious to make sure we aren't creating future slums. So we need to make sure that there's just enough space that we can grow into these areas. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Greg Goodworth.
Greg Goodworth, 62 Hill Ridge. I just concur, think it's a good idea. Thank you.
All right. Okay, and Deanne, is it Muchow?
Mako.
I'm sorry. You've never heard that before, right?
No. Jan Mako. It's German. It's a lot simpler than it looks spelled.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not. 828 East Airport Road. And I have a lot of difficulty with apartment buildings when you pulling in to visit or pulling in to drop something off, pick something up, pick up grandkids or whatnot in these tight apartment complexes. And all it takes is one car additional to the standard usual residents, and maybe not even the standard usual residents have enough room to park. And it throws everything off. You're blocking everybody from going in and out, and so it is critical.
Very good, thank you. All right, was there anyone else that wanted to speak in favor of this issue? All right. I don't show anyone to testify neutral. Anyone who'd like to do that? Okay, or anyone opposed? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have any discussion?
No,
All right,
we talked this through.
okay.
Multiple times.
Multiple times, right. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adjust the parking regulations to match what the presentation has been.
Okay,
Motion to recommend.
Recommend.
Yeah.
Recommend.
I'll second.
all right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Those are the easy ones.
All right, the next item we have is the rehearing of the Highland Heights Planned Unit Development. Have the staff report.
Before I bring in my staff report, that everybody signed in, wants to sign in to testify on the issue.
Change this or not?
No, they've already permitted, or already through planning, or submitted them.
All right,
Just Brandon.
while that's going on, I'll start with my staff report. This staff report was revised February 19th for the rehearing for today, 184 townhome units, planned unit development Highland Heights at Highland Drive. There's parcel numbers and sizes. According to the notice requirements, all public agencies receive the notice below and our agency's comments if anything. The Department of Environmental Quality has responded a second time. The second response is attached to the end of my staff report. The main points to consider is that the main point to consider is the last paragraph of that letter. Is based on having discussed the potential risks and developers and their analysis indicating the reduction of future risks, the DEQ concurs with the development proceeding at this time. We received a comment from the school district as well. The school district feels that if there is a negative impact on our school system, they will comment. If we do not foresee an issue, we will not give comments. They do not wish to take sides regarding the growth and development of the city of Blackfoot or Bingham County. In summary, the Blackfoot School District will only give input on future planning and zoning issues if and only if there is a legitimate concern of the district. The letter also provides statistics of the district and the role Ridgecrest Elementary would play in the event of overcrowding in the district. Oh, yeah, I guess I messed up. I've got my main points kind of swapped around here. So the other main points of the DEQ letter is the location of the proposed stormwater infiltration basin is down gradient from the landfill waste zones. The overall hydraulic loading of stormwater to the infiltration pond will be much less than the historic use of flood irrigation. And based on having discussed potential risks, they concur that the development proceeding at this time. Sorry about that. The current zoning and comprehensive plan policies that is relevant to the proposed subdivision. The current zoning for RP 132-3302 parcel is LDR2 for 5.11 acres and MDR 1308 13.08 acres and is approximate to the development proposed. Development is conforming with the comprehensive plan as it provides single-family and multi-family residents inside city limits and infills the recently annexed enclave to the city boundary property. The developer is providing 1.19 acres of common space for the 128 units in 32 townhouses. The single-family lots in LDR2 will be within the zoning requirements for size, density, and lot coverage. The existing land use for the site of the subdivision as well as the surrounding land use, the development is bordered on all sides by low-density residential zone with single-family and two-family dwellings. The border to the south is undeveloped land that is owned by the county. Based on having discussed the potential risk, the DEQ concurs with the development proceeding at this time. The location, size, and adequacy of the capacity of existing sewer and water lines. Conforming, the site has adequate access to city water and sewer services and will be connected to both. It is proposed that the homeowners authority, or HOA, will manage the communal areas. The communal areas will be irrigated by an approved irrigation system. All preliminary plats shall be accompanied by the proof of transferable irrigation water rights. All subdividers are required to complete the transfer of irrigation water rights and installation of an irrigation water system as proposed. The city may authorize in specific cases a variance from the requirement of a pressure irrigation system, if not contrary to the public interest. The public works decision would be a condition of approval for the planned unit development. A description of the physical characteristics of the site include a basic inventory of vegetation and unique features. The site has been an enclave to the city boundaries until recently annexed and had agricultural uses as a vacant lot for several years and is conducive to infill development. A description of existing streets serving the site of the subdivision and a synopsis of the proposed street. Highland Drive is a two-lane road. That is a major collector. Cooper's Way is a residential street with a 60-foot wide right-of-way that connects to East Airport Road as a minor arterial. The proposed streets for the interior of the planned unit development will be built to city standard and dedicated right-of-way. Off-street parking spaces within the subdivision are adequate for density at 2.83 per unit for a total of 363. All parking spaces will be in garages and driveways and provided with each unit or lot. Preliminary site plan report. Site plan meeting was held March 20th of 2025 to discuss the city ordinances and develop requirements regarding the subdivision. Each superintendent submitted their staff reports from this meeting and preliminary plan attached to the PUD application with conditions that they require from the developer to meet the city subdivision ordinance. See recommended conditions under item 8. Analysis of the impact of the subdivision on the infrastructure of the community. This will include deficiencies in existing infrastructure and what improvements would be needed to bring the infrastructure up to acceptable level of service. The city superintendents have addressed this development and agree that the existing infrastructure can support the addition. Stormwater retention on site will be mandatory. Recommended conditions, the building official says please make sure your builder only pulls as many permits as they can handle at one time. Safety standards during the phase development such as barrier to keep the residents safe. There needs to be a 5% grade for drainage around the structures. Fire marshal, fire code summary, fire hydrants and water supply. Current fire hydrant availability and water supply is inadequate. 2 additional hydrants are required. See map attached to fire marshal staff report. Conditions of approval. Hydrant locations and water supply flow data must be verified and accepted prior to construction. Emergency vehicle access and all weather roads must be in place before construction begins. Street signs and addresses must be posted before, during, and after construction. All fire department access roads must remain unobstructed during construction. Parks and Recreation. You will be required to have a community park in the development, and it would be maintained by the HOA. If the park is city-owned, there are specific requirements for the playground equipment. Planning and zoning. 2 phasing plans are attached to the application, and the developer needs to choose which one. Currently, there are plans for 4-phase and 7-phase development. I think the most recent updated plat shows 3 phases for right now, and that'll be part of the developmental phase that'll be approved by City Council. Each phase will need a development agreement approved by City Council. An approved bridge or crossing will be needed to the improvements to cross the Corbett Slough Canal connecting the street to Cooper's Way. The easement in the southeast end of the development that is used for septic drainage field, the developer will have to negotiate an agreement with the resident to connect to the city. Streets will need to be named on the plat reviewed by city and county. Any duplicates and follow the addressing code 852. Corrections to the templates and legal descriptions need to be made before going before City Council. Street and sanitation, streets with curb, gutter, and sidewalk built to city standards. Any frontage against a road needs to have curb, gutter, sidewalk completed, and your half of Highland repaved. Once the development is complete, you're required to chip seal coat the development upon completion. Stop signs needed to be added to each intersection in the development and bordering the development. We need to see storage areas, bulb outs in order to store the winter snowfall because driveways are so close together, not leaving any area for snow storage. The sanitation department has the capacity to supply sanitation services to the property. Wastewater treatment plant. The current sewerability fee at the time of the site plan meeting was $5,000 per residential unit. Sewerability fee now is $7,000 per residential unit after October 1st of 2026. All stormwater, or that should be 2025. All stormwater must be retained on site. Use storm infiltrators. Sewer lines are available on Cooper's Way, Highland, and if possible, Wooten Way. Each unit must have its own sewer service. All sanitary and stormwater infrastructure must be installed in accordance with the most current edition of the Idaho Public Standard Works Construction or the City of Blackfoot's engineering standards, whichever is more stringent. All testing of sanitary sewer and storm sewer infrastructure must be completed according to the current ISPWC. All testing must be witnessed and certified engineer and reports submitted to the Public Works Committee. Any building that can be sold separately must have its own surface. Sewer lines could run through the middle of the road. Public-owned sewer lines must be in the public right-of-way. Otherwise, they are privately owned and maintained. Water superintendent, a water model will not be required and submitted for review. All water meters and radios will need to be purchased by the developer through the city's vendors. A 1-inch culinary line is currently $2,306 per line. Updated October 1st, 2025 is $2,418 per line. Each unit will need to be serviced separately. Zero escaping with an X is encouraged. There will need to be blow off at the end of the lines for each phase. Secondary irrigation for the green spaces is required. If the roads are not dedicated to the city, then the HOA is responsible for all infrastructure inside the development. At the end, you can see attached is the second response from the DEQ. The paragraph I quoted is the last paragraph before the signature of the P that made the comment. And also, we have the response from School District 55, meetings from their school district meeting, and some statistics on Ridgecrest Elementary on how many spots are available within the district and what its role would be if there was ever overcrowding within the district. Any questions?
Well, then you've got some information about the traffic report.
That's right. We have not created facts for recommendations for a traffic report, but they have submitted one. This traffic report was done by Focus Consulting. It was uploaded to our system on February 13th of 2026. It was completed back in January 21st. Important points of this traffic study is on page 6. This is planned out to be completed by 2032. And it consists of 20 single-family homes and 128 townhouses. 2 access points will be constructed, and you can find this on page 23, table 8. These are the intersections that were conducted within the traffic study. As you can see, all the categories will remain the same for all the intersections around the development. The only categories that will change is Highland Drive and Main Street, which is Idaho Department of Transportation's right of way. It would be up to their responsibility to update that intersection. As part of the traffic analysis, capacity analysis and level of service, on table 7 of page 22, you can see that Highland Drive and Main Street is the only ones that, well, some of them get downgraded from an A to a B, and that would be by the time the development is completed. According to the highway handbook, they don't do any improvements until they're below a D. It's kind of like school grades. When you start failing, then you have to work on it. The westbound approach to Highland Drive and Main Street, that's on that table showing that it would be in failure. On page 4, under principal findings and recommendations for the intersection of Highland Drive and Main Street, it is recommended that the intersection be monitored for actual traffic volumes by the year 2032 to verify if they would meet the need for a traffic signal to improve the level of service. So the recommendation is for Idaho Department of Transportation to keep monitoring their intersection and upgrade it as necessary when it goes into failure. Traffic signal warrant analysis recommendations on page 24. The traffic signal warrant analysis has performed the Highland Drive and Main Street intersection due to the westbound left movement under the 2032 background gear scenario, functioning at a LOS that is level of service F. The major street is Main Street and minor street is Rich Lane westbound approach. Main Street consists of 2 lanes of each direction with a 2-way left turn lane, and Ridge Lane consists of a single lane in an eastbound direction and single lane in a westbound direction. On page 25, shows a table that says, as seen in figure below, the plotted point for the AM and peak hour fells below the applicable curve. It is recommended that this intersection continue to be monitored when traffic volumes would meet the need for a traffic signal. We would like to point out at this time that a traffic study becomes part of a quasi-judicial record for the development, approval, and may be challenged in court and support permit issuance. A traffic model supports legislative planning decisions, example, transportation improvement programs, comprehensive plans, and supports policy formation. The westbound approach at Highland Heights is a right-of-way controlled by the Idaho Department of Transportation. The traffic study becomes part of the administrative record and must support findings of fact. Failure to base approval or denial on substantial evidence risks rehearsal on judicial review. A traffic model informs policy decisions but does not substitute for a project-level analysis. The city may require traffic studies to be done by ordinance, but currently, and at the time of the application, traffic studies are not required by the ordinance. Developers are cooperative if the study is in the recommendations to finding of facts from P&Z or City Council. Any more questions?
Yeah, I just had a question about the report from the Parks and Recreation Superintendent.
Yeah.
Item number 2 says, if the park is city-owned, there are specific requirements. Are you talking about if the HOA decided to turn it over to the city? Is that what
Yeah,
you mean
and
by
the
that?
city would still have to accept that.
Okay.
If they wanted to take on that part. Currently, they're dedicating the right-of-ways, and that would be part of the communal areas right now of that park. It's not in plans right now to be dedicated to the city.
Okay. Under the wastewater treatment plant, you've got item number 3 says sewer lines are available on Cooper's Way, Highland, and possible Wooten Way.
Yes.
When you say, what do you mean? I mean, is the sewer line there or is it not there?
Yeah, the sewer line is down Wooten Way.
Okay.
The water and sewer department did give them an option to be able to connect that way. But there's some obstacles in there, that being county-owned property and the footprint of the old dump right there would complicate that connection. They were just saying that that's where the sewer availability connections are available.
Okay, so if there were a need, then you'd look into that as a possibility?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And if that park then gets dedicated to the city, then the taxpayers pay for it, right?
Well, it'd become part of their maintenance, yes, and that's why we either can make that a recommendation or not. Right now, there's no plans to dedicate it to the city. That was just mentioned in the site plan review meeting when this subdivision was first started working on it. So they had to cover all their bases at that time. It was left open whether the city park would be dedicated or not.
So can we make a condition that it never be dedicated to the city?
That could be a recommendation in your finding of facts.
Okay, we also did not get pages 24 and 25, and whatever else she read at the end.
It was in the report that he provided to us.
Yeah, it's in the email.
It's in the email
Oh.
$25
report.
isn't on that copy. It shows an appendix that it has 25, but there's nothing on it.
What I'm saying is for the information of the commission, that information was included in a letter that Travis wrote to us.
I can have you look at this page of my copy. This is page 25 of the traffic study and the highlighted section that I commented on.
Is that available where we could have that projected so the body could see that? When I looked at it on, there's a link where you can look at the whole 90 pages if you want. I don't remember exactly how many pages are, but it's a big, long report. And I looked at it, and that page is there, and it has a graph on it with some information, and then this paragraph he's talking about. So.
Do you want to see what I show on the one?
Well, she'll put it up here. I don't think you need to. It's fine.
It shows a page and it says appendix.
Yeah, here it is, right here.
See, that's 24.
That's 25.
That's 25. You scroll down.
Scroll down to the bottom, you'll say page 25.
There it is, 25 on the right-hand side
Oh,
there.
okay. I was reading the page numbers wrong.
No problem. Okay, so the paragraph you're referring to, can you point that out there as it says?
Yeah, it's the fourth paragraph, graph down, starting as seen in the figure below.
Okay, I see it, yeah. Okay.
And it just reinstates the condition of the intersection that will go into a failure, and that we should continue to monitor it until it goes into failure, and it's Idaho Department of Transportation's right away to take care of.
Right, very good.
So we foot the bill to monitor it.
No,
Who pays to monitor it?
the Idaho Department of Transportation. We can't put out counters ourselves for it, but that is their jurisdiction and their right of way. So they would.
It's probably not appropriate for me to interject, but can I just add this to your discussion here? Because right now this.
I think it would be
Yeah,
best.
when that comes to
To
the public
wait.
hearing, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just
so it's,
saying the traffic is really.
just so
low
it's
this
part of the
time
public
year.
hearing, okay? Just so it's part of the public hearing and on record, no
My
problem.
mistake.
All right. Okay, any other questions for Travis?
I got one for you, Travis.
Sure.
So, per our water department, he says that we can't recommend a water study?
He said one is not required. In my staff report,
Mm-hmm. And that was one that we pushed to have it,
yeah.
at least go forward to the city council. That they would
Well, a
like.
water model will not be required and submitted for review. We leave it up to our superintendents to require what studies are required and which ones are not. We do not have a water issue according to our water superintendent. That's why he did it. Not in this
But
neighborhood.
that being said, we can still recommend that goes to the city council, that we want that stipulation.
That you would require a water model or feasibility study.
Yeah.
In our city code, we do require them studies for the irrigation. And if you would like, we can make that recommendation to go before city council for a water model.
That's what we did last time, I mean, when it came before us before, so I think that's, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Travis? Okay. Kira, do we have the developer speak first before the
Usually
public hearing?
applicant speaks first, yes.
Okay, so could we have the developer come forward?
I gotta announce my name.
Yep.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing.
Awesome. My name's Elias Trejo. My address is 832 West, 100 North. And my shoe size is 10 and a half. Thank you, Chair and members of the commission. My name's Elias. I'm representing VO1 LLC today. I'm grateful for this rehearing to show how our project supports responsible growth in Blackfoot. So we had our first meeting on March 20th of 2025 with all of the department heads. Everybody from Public Works, Fire, Water, Sewer, Parks, and others, they gave us a green light. They said there was sufficient infrastructure that can support our 148 units. The traffic study was also pretty positive for our subdivision as well. We've strictly followed Blackfoot's ordinances from zoning and LDR2 and MDR1 to PUD rules under Title 11, yet we're proposing just 8.1 units per acre, where the max we could do is, according to our ordinances, is 16.8. We do have over 1.19 acres of open space. This promotes affordability and eases strain on an infill site, which aligns with our comprehensive plan that we're doing. I think Highland Heights delivers needing housing responsibility, single-family homes, and townhomes with HOA amenities without burdening taxpayers. We address all concerns proactively, from canal crossings to irrigation rights. You know, I just appreciate you guys doing this hearing again. I think it's our third or fourth time with this one, and I just feel like we're following our ordinances, and I hope that we can protect our rights as property owners as well. So, thank you.
Before you leave,
Yeah.
any questions?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Yeah.
So in the study from about the floodplain, you guys talked about, or they talked about flood irrigation. When was the last time that field was actually planted and flooded? I'm just being nosy. I mean,
Yeah, so from my understanding, they've been flood irrigating it
who has been?
the whole time. The farmer that currently leases the land.
So they've been harvesting off that every year?
I think they have maybe cows there. I'm not sure.
Cows.
But, yeah.
Cows.
It's been a pasture, cow pasture for the last 40 years.
Okay, I was just, like I said, I was just being curious because they talked about flood irrigation, and
Yeah.
obviously with cows you do that a little
Yeah.
bit too.
I know with
Like a crop.
I know with the Jehovah's Witness Church, they made them, so the landfill, most of the, I don't know what you'd call it, trash, I guess, is on the east side of the property. So it's actually detrimental that we're even allowing that 18 acres to be flood irrigated for so long, because it flows east to west. So the west side of the parcel over there, which is where our storm retention system was, proved to bring in significantly less infiltration into the landfill compared to what's being done now.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna just make a comment and just take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Just because our codes allow it doesn't mean that you should do it.
Mhm.
We appreciate that you're not maxing out, what you can do,
Yeah.
but, be mindful of what is happening as well. I mean, I'm not opposed to certain things, but
Yeah.
I've felt that even, in the profession that I've been in. It's- Just because we can doesn't mean that we should. And
Yeah.
that doesn't really have anything to do with it. I just wanted to make that point.
Yeah, no, I understand. And our initial plat, when we talked with the city council, had 262 units with some fourplexes and stuff designed. PUD lets us do 314. So, I mean, fully transparent, we took a big hit in value going 50% of what we can do, because our goal here isn't to maximize our profits with this. It's to build something that the city of Blackfoot needs. City of Blackfoot needs revenue, and our residences need housing, so.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to go back to what they have, and I have a lot of little things, so just so we're clear. You talked, is there going to be an HOA in this?
Yeah, so there definitely has to be one for something like this, especially with like the irrigation and everything, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they'll take care of all the upkeep of the common areas and that type of thing? Okay. I assume so, but I just thought I'd ask that. And just a point for record, I did a little bit of math, and luckily I have a calculator because I'm not super great at it, but just so everybody's kind of on the aware of what it is. So you guys are going to be paying for wastewater hookup and water hookup just shy of $1.4 million once the development is completely gone, or done. That's the fees that you guys have, plus the cost of putting that all the stuff in the ground. It's not a small little feat that you guys have to pay, and it's definitely not what the city's paying, but I just wanted to make a point of that, just that I am aware of that, and these guys, I know they're aware of that as well. I've seen comments that say that the city's paying for it all, and we're definitely not.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was my last thing for you to, I just, like I said, I wanted to make a point of that dollar amount, because it's not minor.
Yeah, yeah. Can I say something else?
One
You
last
say whatever,
question.
sure.
At one point, I believe a 10-year time plan or a time frame was set up for completion. Are you still looking at 10 years?
You know, it's honestly, it's so tricky to say because the demand is going to be what kind of pushes everything. And right now, the demand is still pretty high for housing in Blackfoot. So I think we had the traffic study do 6 years to see what it would look like. But I think on the traffic study, they made it as if it was all built today. So as you know, the developer, I'd love, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a 5 to 8 year time period for completion. But I think 10 years it's a lot, but it's also a possibility.
Okay.
Yeah. I've learned that the city of Blackfoot, over 50% of the land is not taxable. I believe there's like 45% of the land that we have here. That's where the burden sits for our taxes. So having more developments that include medium density and high density, so the city can generate more revenue per acre, is so important if we want to continue to have good infrastructure and good services. And
I think people need to be aware when you say 40-some% is non-taxable. That's because you have schools, you have churches, you have city, you have county, you have, you know, all of these different entities combined equal that 40-some%.
Yeah, I believe State Hospital, Bingham Memorial, ICCU.
Some of the hospitals tax, some of it's not.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm new here. I'm just wondering, how are these apartments being built? Are they fourplexes or 1-story, 2-story?
So they're going to be basically 4 units per building.
Okay.
The only reason we did the PUD wasn't to get more units there, but it was actually so each individual unit could be owned individually by one person, so they can start building equity. What we've kind of lost in Blackfoot, Idaho, really over the last 10 years, is a entry point that is affordable, that's brand new for people. That's difficult for, I just put a house under contract for $380,000. It was built in 1970s. So that's the reality that we're facing, not just here, but everywhere, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? No? I just wanted to thank you very much.
Yep.
I think we're good. I just wanted to, before we open the public hearing, just reiterate what Travis mentioned about the difference between a traffic study and a traffic model. Okay, what's been done is a traffic study, and that becomes part of the quasi-judicial record for development approval and can be challenged in court and support permit issuance. A model is just for legislative planning decisions, okay, like improvement programs for transportation or comprehensive plans. All right, apparently that was an issue that was brought up, and I just want to make sure that's clear. Okay? All right, if there are no other questions.
Can my engineer speak, or?
You need to recuse. Yeah, so before we open the public hearing.
I was just gonna wait till he finished.
Yeah, so anyway, he was moving on, so.
All right, was there someone else you wanted?
Just our engineer.
Go ahead, yeah, please.
I'm gonna use the restroom. I've been drinking way too much water.
Hi, my name is Travis Payne with Connect Engineering. I don't know, do you need my address too, or?
Yep.
Okay, 2295 North Yellowstone Highway, Idaho Falls, Idaho. So I think Ellie's did a great job of explaining the project and how he's looking to provide an affordable level of housing. I wanted to be clear up just a couple of points. When he talks about doing a PUD, the purpose of doing a PUD is so that you can provide an option for ownership of these individual units as opposed to somebody having to purchase, say, the entire building, the entire fourplex. They can own an individual unit of that fourplex instead of the whole thing, which provides a more affordable option of housing that in this time period is desperately needed for a lot of different reasons, as everybody's probably well aware. And then it was brought up that the data for the traffic impact study was gathered in January, which it's understandable that it would be a concern that traffic would, for example, be more dense in July than it would be in January. So when a engineer goes to do a traffic impact study, they will look at AADT data, meaning daily traffic on the roadways for each month of the year, and find which month is the 80th percentile or the 90th percentile of the most amount of traffic for that year, and then adjust the traffic data when it was collected to that month. So what they're trying to do is model the worst case scenarios as opposed to the optimal scenarios for the purpose of the developer. Because as was expressed, when these traffic impact studies go to judicial review, they have to justify to whatever judicial committee why they did what they did and the decisions that they made. And if they're not able to do that, their license gets put on the line. And so it's about their livelihood. So it's more important to them to be right than it is for any project to be awarded or for anything to occur.
Right.
So I just wanted to make that clear as well.
All right.
I don't know if there are any other questions for me.
Any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Pardon me? Yeah, that's not going to mention that, yeah. Okay, we're going to open the public hearing.
Before you open, may I have,
Oh, yeah, you need to be recused, I'm sorry.
so
Yeah.
I want to stay and listen, but I won't vote.
Okay.
No, you can't stay.
Oh, then,
You can't stay and listen. Because then it looks like it's the influence on the board. That's why we always have everybody step out.
God said I did that, but
So, you gotta step out so it doesn't look like there's an influence.
we object, but, it's got to be done.
We'll miss you.
We definitely will. All right. We have on the list 2 in favor, and those are the developer and the engineer, so I assume we're done with that. We have no one to testify neutral, and we have a number that are going to testify in opposition. Please ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and if someone ahead of you has already made your comment, would you please defer and just say, I agree with so-and-so, or I agree with the comment that was made about thus and such, so that we're not repeating things that have been said. We have first on the list, Heather McPhee. You can come up and announce your address.
Heather McPhee, 519 West, 55 South. Good evening. This planned unit development does not meet multiple mandatory requirements of the Blackfoot City Code, and the deficiencies in the record prevent you from making the findings necessary for approval. First, the claim that this project qualifies as infill is unsupported. The code requires at least 80% of the land within a 300-foot radius be developed and served by sewer and water. The standard applies to land, not lots. And the applicant was required to submit documentation providing compliance, and that documentation is not in the public record. Without it, you cannot lawfully conclude that the project qualifies as infill. Second, the density calculation relies on an inconsistent reading of non-residential within the code. Streets are defined elsewhere as public right-of-ways, not residential land. Therefore, including the streets in the code, in the density calculation, is counter to what the code is requiring. Third, periphery yards standards use mandatory language. Adjoining yards shall be matched unless proved impractical, and the plan as submitted does not consistently match those standards, and no defensible finding of impracticality appears in the record. Without that finding, approval would be contrary to code. Fourth, conditional use standards still apply. The burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate compatibility with surrounding properties and consistency with the comprehensive plan. A conditional use application must be filed. It says in the code that it must be filed, and I know that the city has not been doing that, but I want us to follow the code, not tradition. The purpose clauses for these zones emphasize preserving stable neighborhoods, low traffic volumes, and minimum nuisance impacts. Routing significant traffic through an LDR1 neighborhood conflicts with that purpose. The Department of Environmental Quality has expressed a preference for access through the landfill areas, and the developer has acknowledged this. If that information is not fully before you, then the record is incomplete, and that's a critical issue. And finally, required common open space, according to the code, must be intentionally designed and usable for recreation, not merely leftover fragments of land. The proposed open space appears to consist largely of corner remnants and areas adjacent to private backyards, which does not meet the code standard for meaningful common space. Because the applicant has not demonstrated compliance with infill requirements, density limits, periphery yard standards, conditional use criteria, traffic compatibility, or open space standards, the findings necessary for approval cannot be made. For those reasons, I respectfully urge you to recommend denial of this planned unit development. Thank you.
Okay, Connie Hess.
Hi, my name is Connie Hess, and I'm at 2021 Cruiser Loop. And I concur and agree with Heather. She's awesome.
Okay, next we have Leslie Mickelson.
Leslie Mickelson, I'm at 17 South Cleveland, and I concur with Heather.
All right. TJ Davis, I believe it is.
First, I have to apologize. This is my first. I don't know how this works, but
So first, you gotta give your name and your address.
Tim J. Davis, legally. I go by TJ. I own the property at 1845 Highland. It would be built around my property. First concern I have is water rights. We talk about water rights. My water rights come off the Corbett Slough to my sprinkler system. This subdivision obviously would disrupt that somewhere, somehow. We talked about traffic control, law enforcement, that kind of stuff. I listen literally to cars and bikes run up Highland at who knows what kind of speed. There is no law enforcement. Now you want to bring another subdivision in and add to that issue? The landfill. Literally, I can haul my garbage to Idaho Falls and pay cheaper than I can in Blackfoot. Now you want to add more housing that's going to multiply that. And my last point would be the taxpayers. This subdivision goes through, where is that all? You might say it's going to be on the developer. No, it's not. Because my water pressure already in my home that's been there for who knows how many years, because I'm part of the original homestead, my water pressure is not good. Now we're gonna throw X amount of other homes in it. Thank you, I appreciate your time. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this, but
You're doing just
thank
fine.
you.
Yeah, that was fine. Okay.
I'm not a public speaker. This is just not
That
me.
was great, no problem. Okay, you're gonna have to help me a little bit with this. Casey? Casey, is it Curlew? Curley, sorry.
My name is Casey Curley. I live at 731 Wooten Way. I have a number of concerns, mostly the school district. The school district is not going to comment because they're not going to have to pay for a new school. They're just not, we are. I have concerns. I run the Locker of Love here at Blackfoot. I'm sure some of you have seen the post on Facebook. Our community needs affordable housing. I speak to people every day who are living out of their cars, who are struggling to feed their children. These entry point houses provide nothing for the citizens of Blackfoot. This is inviting people outside of Blackfoot into our town because they're going to be the only ones who can afford it. We don't have the job sustainability here. We don't have the infrastructure. People are starving. People are taking entire boxes of food from my program because they cannot feed their families. This is not to benefit the citizens of Blackfoot. This is to benefit the bottom dollar of these developers. They may paint this as benefiting the city, and numerous times within the city code, under different statutes, it says planning and zoning more or less must act in the best interest of the citizens, do what's right for the infrastructure, for our town, for nuisances, and this is not it. The number of people I help daily, we can't even provide for the people who are here, people who are begging for housing. I have people knock on my door every day asking if I know housing resources. How are multi-unit houses, which have a lower sales rate than any other type of unit, very few people want to buy into a duplex. How many of you honestly want to live with a neighbor sharing a wall when you're an owner? That's not what owners strive for. So we're looking at housing models that are going to be less sustainable long run, less people want them, and they don't even benefit the people who are here. This is not in the best interest of the city, nor is it in the spirit of the city code. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The last name is Blazer.
Rena.
I'm sorry, it's Rena? Okay.
Yes.
I apologize.
That's okay. Hi, my name is Rena Blazer. I live on the corner of Airport Road and Cooper's Way. So I concur with what has gone before me, but my main concern is what it's going to do to the traffic flow in front of my house. I already have Airport Road to one side, which is a very busy road. Ambulances, police, all the time up and down that road. And the way I see it, I haven't heard anything mentioned about a traffic study for Cooper's Way, and that will be a straight shot to the subdivision off of Airport Road. So it appears to me that that's where 50% or 90% of the traffic is going to come down Cooper's Way. And Cooper's Way is now a low traffic road, and it's a nice little subdivision, and that's why I bought this house there. And I'm really concerned about the traffic flow if we put this in. I wouldn't object if we had another inlet into this or another access to this place other than Cooper's Road, and the one off Highland is kind of a jog to get to it, whereas Cooper's Way is a straight way. If there was another access to get in, I would be less opposed to it. And my other concern obviously is what it's going to do to the value of my home. Thank you.
Stephanie Waring.
I'm Stephanie Waring, and I live at 1720 Highland Drive here in Blackfoot. My husband and I own the 6-acre parcel directly across Highland Drive Street from the land that is being put forth for your consideration. Todd and I have approximately 550 feet along Highland Drive, and we would share about 250. So about 6.5 years ago, Todd and I moved back to Blackfoot, and we built a house on Highland Drive, and we want awesome things and good things to happen in Blackfoot. We are totally in favor of new development and growth, but we want that growth to be responsible. We want that growth to be feasible. We strongly urge the Planning and Zoning Committee to vote no on this planned unit development being presented tonight. It's our opinion that this PUD is not responsible or feasible for the growth in this area. We encourage and ask the Planning and Zoning Commission that you would consider the following. First of all, traffic. The proposed PUD has 2 points of entry. Am I not talking loud enough?
No, the mic died.
Oh, The proposed PUD has 2 points of entry and exit on Highland Drive and Cooper's Cove. We urge strongly that a neutral party's traffic study be done, independent from both the city and the developer, so there's no bias either way. Safety is a very huge concern for us. I don't feel that 2 entry points are sufficient for that number of houses or the number of people that will be coming in. I think it's a huge safety issue. Highland Drive and Cooper's Cove, those streets there, when the city developed those streets, those were not meant to be major thoroughfares. Highland Drive is a side street, and the street that goes into Cooper Cove goes into a lovely little subdivision there. The second issue that I have grave concerns about are our city utilities and infrastructure. Currently, the water in the city of Blackfoot has very low pressure. The water is also highly chlorinated due to some contamination issues. Blackfoot's water supply is being stressed from what I can see. Adding more households is not responsible and safe to something that's already stressed. The sewer. The city has currently had a lot of issues with its sewer, and I don't know if it has really the capacity to add this many more houses. The sewer department was recently given a hefty fine for improper disposal and contamination. Is adding more households to a system that is stressed, responsible, and safe? And then green space and the local environment.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
You've exceeded.
time's out.
You've exceeded your 3 minutes.
Oh, darn. That's what happens when you talk a lot.
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you for your understanding. Sierra Walker?
Can I give her my time to finish what she was
Yeah,
saying?
we don't normally do that. It just causes a can of worms. Everybody has their fair time to speak.
Sierra Walker.
Hello, my name is Sierra Walker, and my address is 636 Eagle Way, and I concur with Stephanie.
Thank you. Ashley Bradshaw?
Talk fast. Okay, I'll do that. 2 quick things. Thank you for mentioning the water model. Ashley Bradshaw, 2011 Highland Drive. Because that is a concern. And then, in case you guys weren't aware, the map that keeps getting mailed out is still inaccurate. It has a street that is labeled inaccurately, and I think that is a big issue. Okay, parking concerns. This development was stated that there's 2 parking spaces per resident, 1 storage space for every 3 residences, and 1 visitor parking space for every 3 residences. As we've already discussed tonight, that's a problem. Most of those residences are going to have at least probably 2 vehicles per residence, and then there's not going to be room for visitor parking. It's going to cause on-street congestion, overflow parking issues. It can cause issues with our emergency vehicles and being able to get and access the neighborhood. Conditional use requirements. The Blackfoot City Code states every plan development requires a conditional use application and shall be subject to all conditional use procedures. The same section further states the concept and detail use applications are both subject to public hearing requirements, and the conditional use requirements are in there as well. Establishes 3 mandatory components of a conditional use application. Every person seeking conditional use approval shall file an application and fee with the zoning administration in accordance with sections 1132. A narrative statement shall discuss the general compatibility of the proposed development with adjacent properties and the neighborhood, the relationship and the proposed use to the comprehensive plan, and the effects of the following on the adjoining property: noise, glare, traffic generated, vibration, odor, fumes, drainage, building height, massing, and solid waste. The record should contain a fee, an application, and a narrative statement. However, that has not been done. We have requested information, and we have yet to see any of that. And there has been requests for public documentation. The concept plan does not eliminate filing requirements. Any planning and zoning level conditional use application may be submitted and processed as a concept plan. However, the language addresses only the processing of the application. It does not eliminate or replace the required narrative statement. Furthermore, the same code section says the applicant must specify an application form that concept approval is being requested. We have not been able to find that application form, and therefore feel that that has been violated as well. Infill site qualification requirement. The code defines an infill site as a parcel where at least 80% of the land with a 300-foot radius has been developed, and water, sewer, streets, schools, fire protection have already been developed and are provided. I have received differing information on whether sewer is available or not. And
Your time is up. Thank you.
Not fast enough.
hey, I tried.
All right, next we have Sherilyn Goodworth.
Sherilyn Goodworth, 62 Hillridge Avenue. Commissioners, I'd like to address Blackfoot City Code 116A-5, specifically the section governing use exceptions with a planned unit development greater than 5 acres. This section is not a blank check for flexibility. It is narrowly written. It allows uses not otherwise permitted in a district only when those uses are strongly related to the primary use, integrated into the development, neighborhood serving in nature, and not detrimental to surrounding areas. It further limits such exception uses to no more than 20% of the total area. The stated purpose of this provision is critical. It exists to avoid single-use projects that generate high levels of traffic and instead promote integrated, functionally related uses that serve residents and reduce internal impacts. What is before you is not a mixed-use, integrated neighborhood-serving development. It is a high-density residential project. There are no integrated services, there are no neighborhood-scale commercial components, there are no internal traffic mitigating uses designed to reduce vehicle trips. It is, in function, a single-use residential development that will generate substantial traffic. If the PUD framework is being used to achieve residential intensity or building forms that would otherwise not be permitted outright in MDR1, then the Commission must be able to make the findings required in 116A-5B2 through 4. That includes findings that are integrated, neighborhood serving in scale, and not detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood. Given that traffic from this development is proposed to exit through the LDR1 neighborhood, Cooper's Cove, contrary to the stated purpose of preserving low traffic volumes, it is difficult to see how finding of non-detrimental can be supported by substantial evidence in the record. The ordinance anticipates carefully integrated projects that reduce impacts on surrounding neighborhoods. What is proposed instead is an intensified residential project routing its impacts outward. Unless each required finding under this 116A-5 can be clearly and defensively made on evidence in the record, approval would not be consistent with the code. For these reasons, as well, I urge you to deny the plan unit development. I just want to say, after all of that, that this particular developer has had other developments where there was just not good studies done and kind of corner cutting here and there, and they've had to liquidate and they've had to do different things. This is very much in line with the traditions of this developer in the past, and we just want to see you look at the codes and see where they're not meeting the codes. We are happy to have growth, we're happy to have development. We don't want to slum. We don't want it congested, and we do not want to slum. We do not want to have the traffic that is going to damage the kids.
Sorry, Sherilyn.
No, you're good.
I think it's me, yes?
It is you. You're next.
Greg Goodworth, 62 Hill Ridge Avenue, Blackfoot, Idaho. Good evening, Commissioners. I would like to address a procedural issue that goes directly to the authority to approve this planned unit development. Blackfoot City Code 11-6A-5 states every planned development requires a conditional use application and shall be subject to all conditional use procedures. The language is mandatory. It says requires, not may, not typically, but requires. A conditional use application is not optional or implied. The code states that a PUD must go through the conditional use application process and comply with all conditional use procedures. So the question before you tonight is straightforward. Where is the conditional use application? If one is required by ordinance, it should exist in the record. It should include the required narrative statement and findings. If it does not exist, then the application before you is incomplete under the plain language of the code. I understand that historically PUDs may have been processed without initiating separate conditional use application. However, longstanding practices does not amend the ordinance. Administrative custom cannot override clear statutory language. The code governs, not tradition. If the city's practice does not match the ordinance, the remedy is to amend the code prospectively through the legislative process. But until that happens, the ordinance as written is binding on the commission. Approving a PUD without the required conditional use application would not be exercising discretion. It would be disregarding a mandatory procedural requirement. Procedural safeguards exist to protect applicants, neighbors, and the integrity of the decision. Skipping required steps expose both the developer and the city to potential legal challenge. Your authority exists because the code grants it. If the code sets conditions on the authority, those conditions must be met before approval can lawfully occur. If the required conditional use application has not been filed and processed as required by 11-6A-5, then under the plain language of the ordinance, the only lawful action available is denial. If the city wishes to change the code, that is a discussion for another day. Tonight, the code, as written, controls. As I have 20 seconds left, I just want to think about who's in the room. We've got two people in favor that are developers, and then the community. The community does not want this, and they are speaking. Thank you. And I wasn't kicked out.
Okay,
Still
Deanne,
time.
and you'll have to say your name
You need
again.
my name again? Deanne Mucko. I don't have much
I'll need your
to-
address too, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's what I was asking. 828 East Airport Road. I only have a couple of things. Thank you on the traffic study. That was very thorough and covered a lot of things that I hadn't anticipated, but it does not allow for the difference in traffic. I live on East Airport Road and it's very busy and speeding cars and very congested, but then you add in harvest or when they're planting and it is horrendous. It is such a hazard. Add 300 drivers to that, which potentially it could easily do, or close to that, then that would be a problem. Also, the other issue that I have concerns about are, and I appreciate you listening to this, and this is kind of a touchy subject, I know, and I heard you mention the cost to connect the sewer and water for all these individual homes. But in most cities, they have an impact, or all of a sudden I can't think of the word.
Impact
The-
fee.
Yeah, the impact fee. I did say it right. Okay, they have the impact fee that they pay up front for putting in a development that gives you the funds to then be able to address some of the shortcomings of our infrastructure with the city sewer and water. And I'm concerned that just in general, we're waiting until it breaks instead of doing the maintenance and making sure that it's up to par to make sure that it works for these developments ahead of time. And I would just like to see more of that all the way around, more of that with the potential traffic problems, more of that with the infrastructure, with the sewer and the water, the school systems, all the things that have been mentioned, which I also concur with. And also just to point out, Cooper's Way is not set up to even have parking on the street. It's too narrow. If you park to the side of the street, you're in the lane of traffic. If I pull in front of my friend's house, I'm in the lane of traffic. There's no parking. So to add that many drivers through Cooper's Way, I concur that another access would be a good idea. And I'm not against development. I think responsible that fits the surroundings would be great. Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, I believe it's Mike Hanna.
Mike Hanna, 2029 Borson Street, Blackfoot, Idaho. there's a few things that I concur with Heather and all the legal stuff, especially for you, Garrett, because it's gonna be your headache. The sewer hookups, if you can't go out through the old dump area, okay? You gotta hit Highland or you gotta hit Cooper. Well, right now you got, probably in 10 years, you got 44 acres that's gonna be developed around that area. Plus you have all the what's gonna go into that hotel, the old sugar factory. So you're gonna have a pile of sewer and a pile of water coming down right down Peterson Street, tying right into Highland. Okay? Then you have all this beautiful land this guy owns right here that'll eventually be developed. I mean, he's sitting on probably 20 acres easy, 20 to 30 acres is gonna be developed eventually. Stedman's sitting on it there. He's probably gonna put PUDs right there on East Airport Road. You're building quick, and I know your system isn't gonna handle it. It's just not. And then they took an 8-inch water line over to the hospital off of Highland Drive. That's why they tied in off Peterson Street down there, because that was an 8-inch water line. And you're talking about low pressure? You've turned water off to a hotel with a swimming pool, and then they're thinking of putting a sports center in there or something. It's gonna suck more water. And all the sewer's gotta come out that way. So now you're doing that. Now we're gonna go to the schools. Crest is gonna start busing people out of out of Ridgecrest next year, the kids. The numbers are low in the whole area for District 55. Ridgecrest is still pretty good, so they're gonna start sending kids probably out to Groveland, because Groveland's pretty empty. So now you got parents that are gonna have to drive to drop their kids off at Groveland. There's a lot of things. All I can say is, in 10 years, this whole area over there is going to be inundated with whatever, because we ain't going to be able to stop it all. It's going to be built, and you're probably going to have to sink another well over there somewhere. You're going to have to sink another well, and that's taxpayer dollars. And I wish these contractors would have to pay for that stuff instead of us taxpayers. It would be really nice. And then the last thing is the developer or the realtor guy, he's just gonna sell the land, and then he's gonna push it off to some Utah outfit to come in and build it like they did on the other one in
Mike,
East Airport Road. And then there won't be no workers around here to do it, so.
Thank you. Okay, Sierra Walker. Okay, no other comment? All right. Derek Williams.
Hi, Derek Williams, 2262 Cooper's Way. I made a spreadsheet. I don't know if I can present them to you guys.
Garrett?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This is kind of just my math on the current traffic study. And it's a little thrown together. Can you reach that?
Yep.
Good for you. Anyways, I find it interesting that they say, the engineers said that they need to be more correct than we are. And you look at the traffic study, and in figure 1, they mislabeled the streets yet again on another engineer study. Figure 1, what's Airport Way, they call Parkway Drive. What's Mitchell Lane, they call West Bridge Street. It's the other thing, when I look at the traffic study, I would think, a traffic study is just a projection of what's gonna happen. In working with the city to decide where to study the traffic, they failed to study it on Hill Ridge and Highland. When I'm gonna look at projections, if I were to use common sense, I would say, where does the current community exit and enter the development? And so using this spreadsheet I prepared, it uses exactly what is in the traffic study. If you look at it, there's 148 units, and if you total up the peak hour traffic, they claim there will be 173 vehicles during peak hours. That's 1.17 vehicles per housing unit. The current traffic at peak hours, and this is their count, going from Cooper's Way and entering Airport Road is 51 vehicles in the peak 1 hour in the AM and 1 hour in the PM. If you were to take Cooper's Way and Hill Ridge and generate it using their 1.17 figure on how much traffic should be generated for peak hour, it would say that 100% of the traffic is entering onto Airport Road through Cooper's Way, which we know isn't correct. But as citizens here, we realize that the easiest way in and out of those developments, the busiest way should be through Cooper's Way. Makes the most sense. The only reason to go east onto Highland is if you're going to the high school or other things. But most guys going to the INL, the interstate, they're going to have the easiest access up to Cooper's Way. So if you...
Sorry, I don't understand.
Thanks, Siri.
The current projected peak hour of, that's their projection of 2032. The volume that they're projecting is 104 during the 1 hour in the morning and the 1 hour in the evening. And I wrote here, the current study claims that 75%, that's the part I missed. They're saying that 75% is going to enter and exit onto Highland Drive and not Cooper's Way. So the current study claims that 75% of Highland Heights will enter and exit onto Highland Road.
Sorry, Derek, you've exceeded.
If you guys would just look at the additional AADT, that's
I appreciate it.
every day,
Your time's
and you
up.
put 75% in there, that's 866 added. You gotta blame Siri a little bit. But if you would please just look at the last thing that I submitted, the last section, and that is if 75% goes to Cooper's Way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was donating it to the city.
Thank you. Okay, Brianne Williams.
Hi, my name is Brianne Williams. I also live at 2262 Cooper's Way. I will concur with all of my fellow residents here, and also the gentleman that just went before me. I am also asking that a water pressure test be recommended again. It's unfortunate that we recommended that the last time and it wasn't submitted. Again, unfortunate, but we ask that the water pressure be tested right where it enters the home and during peak season, meaning the summer, right, when demand is high. Testing upstream or during low demand times doesn't really show whether the requirement of the 40 PSI minimum is being met. And I think that's really important that we have that data entered. So again, like the rest of the residents, I strongly urge you guys to deny this. But thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Gary, I believe it's Matthias. Oh, Jerry, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, but my name is actually Geraldine, but only my mother called me that when I was in trouble, so.
It's fine. I didn't know whether it was male or female. I apologize.
Well, that's my mom's fault, so she chose to spell it that way. I'm Jerry, as I said, and I live at 2200 Cruiser Loop, which is the opposite street of Cooper's Way in Cooper's Cove. Been there about a year and have observed quite a bit of increased building around me. So there is going to be people moving in there. I always expected that 18 acres up there, where I love to watch the cows graze, would someday be developed. But I didn't think it would be that dense. That's just too much. And I am very concerned about the traffic that will result from that higher density of that. I think money could be made by not making it that high, but anyway, I was trying to get through the traffic study, 74 pages, and my printer just decided it wasn't going to print anymore, so I only got about 9 pages, but on page 4, and Mr. Allen read this earlier, and Derek mentioned quite a bit of this, and so I agree with everything he said, but I can add a little bit. So this traffic study was done by using trip generation manuals produced by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. And their figures, I think, are off. I would like to know if they actually went out and did counts at these intersections, because at the time, right now, Cooper's Way is the only possible entrance into that 18 acres. You can get there from Hill Ridge, but they don't indicate Hill Ridge in their study. So I think their study is flawed. And I have reason to believe that because I took it upon myself in November to do my own traffic count at the corner of East Airport Road and Cooper's Way. And I think I sent all of you that report a number of years ago, but this was in November, and it was quite cold. I planned to stay from 4:45 to 5:45, but I chickened out after 30 minutes. However, I think I'm better than an Institute of Engineers estimate, because I did this. I actually sat there and counted each car or truck that went by. My count could be off by as many as 10, because occasionally a big pickup would pull up next to me and block my view, and I probably missed 2 or 3 cars each time that happened. But pretty much I kept my eyes on the road.
Jerry, I'm sorry.
And in 30 minutes,
Your time's up.
let me just give you the number. I counted 370 cars on East Airport Road, with 20 of them either turning in or out of Cooper's Way.
All right, thank you very much.
So I think we need a better traffic study.
All right. Also, for the record, we have a letter from Scott Peterson, who lives at 1939 Highland Drive, which all the members of the commission have read. Okay, so that would be noted as well. Are there any others that want to speak in opposition?
I was on the list.
I believe you missed me on the list.
Yeah, he was before I was.
I went right down the list here, so I don't know. It's fine. You're welcome to testify.
Yeah, he was signed up ahead, and then I was signed up on the top of the second page.
It doesn't matter.
I see there's a name crossed out here, which I thought meant that there was nothing going to be there. So is it Brent Arave?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
Doesn't matter. I find the traffic study, sorry, James Curley, 726 Alexander, been watching it all night and I forgot, my apologies. I find the traffic study very interesting because that was done in November. Let's think about what would happen during fair season that nobody's counted for. And that'd be 1 week of pure hell.
Especially on Highland.
Yeah. Other than that, pointing that out, I agree with everything that has been said. The developer has spent a great deal of time trying to convince the residents that this project would help ease the Blackfoot housing crisis. I would contend that we don't have a housing crisis. If you look at the empty houses that are on Alexander, the condos that were built there that are still more than 50% empty, the ones on Wooten, the single room duplexes, whatever they are zoned, there's nobody in those yet. We don't have a housing crisis. What we have is a crisis of jobs that can afford to put people in single-family homes. That's what it comes down to. We're a small farming community. We don't have the infrastructure to put people in these homes that everybody wants. Nobody wants a condo or a duplex. They want a single-family home to raise their family in. And that's what it boils down to, and we just do not have the infrastructure to support that. I won't go into the water, the sewage, everything that's been brought up. That's just beating a dead horse. There's no point in going on with that. With all that, I urge the council to listen heavily, or listen with a good heart and everybody's intentions, since I think I'm the last speaker. And just, as it was pointed out, we're the city here talking. We're not the developers. We're not here to make a dime. We're kind of here to protect our way of life, maybe our housing prices. That's legitimate, I think, and nobody's brought that up, but it's sure gonna affect that. So, with that, thank you.
James, I apologize, I did skip over you.
That's
Sorry about that.
Doesn't matter.
All right, I'm glad you had a chance to testify. All right, I did have Brent Arve, or Arve? Arve, okay, sorry.
Brent RV, 225 RV Lane, Blackfoot, Idaho. The issues that I'm going to address first is the canal. I'm president of the Dipolateral Canal Company, which is on the south side of this property, and I've never had anybody talk to me about how we're going to deal with that, having an open canal through there, what the plans are. That's one. I want to talk just briefly on the schools. I've got all the numbers here on the schools, and our actual numbers of availability in the school district is 179. Well, 37 of them are in Fort Hall. We're not going to bus there. The biggest portion of them are in Wapello. This project is going to be mostly young couples with kids. We will do more than fill the school. It's fine, the developer can make money. I agree with that. I've built a jillion apartments in my life. I was a contractor most of my life. But it does impact the people that live here and have to raise the money to build new schools. And we'll have to build new schools if we add this many people. You're going to add a couple of hundred kids in this eventually, at least, and that's going to require new schools, and that's a burden on the taxpayers. The streets, the sewer, all that's been addressed somewhat, other than we do have a big burden right now at the sewage treatment. That's been addressed, but that, once again, falls on the taxpayers. The proposal right now is to borrow money, put a loan. That's going to raise everybody, $35, $40 a month on their sewer and water. I can give you exact numbers if you want to, but and right now I did a study of Pocatello, Chubbuck, Idaho Falls, Ammon, and us. Chubbuck's the only one that charges more for their monthly rate than us, and it's only by $3. If we had $35, $40, we had a lot, and we got a lot of people on fixed income, on Social Security in this town. They can't afford the extra burdens. The traffic study, what's going on now means nothing. What's going to add is what counts. Having built a jillion apartments, I promise you're going to add somewhere in the neighborhood of between 200 and 300 cars on the road a day, because these guys have to go to work, they have to come home from work. And you add that much traffic, and Highland Drive, the city doesn't really have any room to expand it. They actually only own 10 feet of the road now. There's only about 26 feet there between the ditches and the fences. So they don't have a lot of room to make that a better road. I do concur that most of the people probably will go through Cooper's Cove, which when the people moved in there, they thought they were moving into a nice little subdivision. Now you're going to start flooding them and make that a main thorough street through their subdivision. I think elected officials have an obligation to the citizens as well, and the costs. The last thing I'm going to just address really quick is just simply the total cost of everything. Our city budget has gone up over 28% in the last 4 years. We are double what Chubbuck is, and they're a lot bigger town than us. We can't afford to just keep adding things that cost us more. Now, we need the revenue. We need people moving in. But the study that I haven't heard of is does it offset what it's going to cost us to get there?
I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'm done anyway, so. Okay.
Appreciate your understanding. All right. Anyone else that wants to speak in opposition? Okay. We'll close the public hearing.
Applicant gets to go last.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you. Applicant, you have a chance to rebut, I guess.
Hello, Travis Painting again, 2295 North Yellowstone Highway, Suite 6. I wanted to speak to a couple of things. I probably can't address everything in the interest of time, so I'll say a few things that hopefully will apply to a lot of different concerns that were brought up. Heather brought up initially that there was a concern that the density included the roadways. We took the roadways out when we calculated the density, and so that density that we reported is actually the density considered without the roadways inside of that volume. The access was brought up several times through Cooper's Way. Generally speaking, from a access management plan or from a comprehensive plan perspective, you're supposed to try to center these high-density developments around major around major collectors like Highland. What's it called? Highland. And so the intent is for the majority of the project to access off of Highland. It sounds like, according to the traffic impact study, generally speaking, the trip assignments are going to be using Highland Drive as opposed to accessing through Cooper's Way. When we discuss having a third party conduct the traffic impact study, the traffic impact study was conducted by a third party. It was a different engineering firm that the association with the developer was only that he paid that engineering firm to perform that study. And again, it goes back on their responsibility as a licensed engineer to report things as accurately as they possibly can, even if they're being paid by a developer. There was a lot of concerns brought up about a water model and the sewer capacity. In our role as engineers, we rely on the city staff to inform us if there's a responsibility for us in order to perform a water model or a sewer study. They look and investigate things like water pressure, sewer capacity on a continual basis to see if projects like this will have a substantial impact on the water systems and the sewer systems. And so if we're not directed by the staff to perform those studies, it's impossible for us to just randomly do studies until we can address every possible thing that could happen. And then the concern was brought up about a conditional use permit being a requirement for a public or planned unit development. The requirements for a conditional use permit are the same as a planned unit development as far as the application is concerned. And so I don't know from city staff's perspective what they think about that, but it seems as though we meet the conditional use permit as well as the PUD application. And then the trip generation, the way that trip generations are calculated is based off of study investigations that are performed by and submitted by traffic professionals who calculate traffic based off of similar projects that were performed, and then they scatter plot it, and then they're able to accurately estimate the traffic based off of those investigations. And those studies are publicly available if anybody wants to research that. The concern was also brought up that the traffic impact study reports less traffic than would be anticipated. The traffic impact study reports about 1,155 trips per day. And so, I mean, it's entirely up to this trip generation manual, but that's used as a standard in the industry. And again, the concern about the canal was brought up on the south side of the property. Unfortunately, that is off of our property, so that we don't have a ton of control, but it seems as though maintenance alleys are available for access to maintain that canal. So, thank you. I don't know if there are any questions or...
Questions?
Yeah, you're like 4 minutes in, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
For your report. Okay. Garrett, am I good to?
Yeah, that's it, then, yeah, the applicant's done, so close the public hearing and
All right.
deliberate.
I'll close the public hearing. Questions from, or discussion that we have as a commission? I guess one of the questions we do need to address, and you can give us some feedback on this, Travis, is the requirement that's been discussed about the CUP.
Yeah, the CUP requirement, at many times on many applications, if they're all in the same application, for example, if we had to annex, rezone, and apply for planned unit development, sometimes we will use the same procedure because they're exact. We have the same notification for days. We have the same notification for area within 300 feet of the perimeter of the property in order to do the notifications. So the application for the PUD is the conditional use permit. It's the same procedure. It takes the same hearing. When we have applicants apply for multi-applications, we do reserve that we take the greater of them applications and apply it, and then only charge the applicant that fee for the greater of them, because we're going to send the same envelope with the same packing for annexation or for a conditional use permit or a planned unit development. So yeah, the application for the planned unit development is the same application for conditional use. It's the same procedure. It's also, the narrative would be considered within the application for the planned unit development that we have within our OpenGov portal.
Garrett, I don't know if you can speak to that. Do you feel, from a legal standpoint, that the obligation has been met by the developer?
It's the same process. It's the same, like Travis says, it's the same notice, it's the same information.
Okay, all right, very good. Any other questions
So-
that need to be
So why
directed
does
to
our,
Travis?
our code say that we have to have a PUD and conditional use permit?
Well, so the PUs used to be handled differently. It used to be handled more like like a variance, where the planning and zoning would approve it, which didn't make a whole lot of sense because it is a subdivision. And so the process was changed years ago to make it a subdivision type process, which then aligns with the CUP process.
But the code didn't change.
Well, but it's the same application.
But the code didn't change. It still says that it has to have both.
Well, but it's the same information. So the title, I mean, it's form over substance, right? So the substance is the same,
So I mean, we'd have multiple hearings on the same thing.
not exactly the same thing.
And we do that anyways.
So, yeah, it's, the substance is the same.
Okay, very good. All right,
Is Highland the main connector?
It is, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it is. It's in my staff report. I can grab it.
You wouldn't mind?
It's on Scott Peterson's paper.
Highland would be the main entrance.
it's a major collector street.
It is a major collector? Okay.
And I remember reading that elsewhere.
I didn't think it was, but I didn't look into it.
Yeah, it says right here on number 5 of his staff report, Travis's staff report, Highland Drive is a 2-lane road that's a major.
I mean, I'm not denying it, I'm just saying that's kind of a small.
Yeah, I don't know how the city defines each of those.
Okay, any other questions? Further discussion? All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I'm gonna be honest, I know my thoughts on this, it hasn't changed. I still think it's shitty access to that much property. I mean, either way, when you're going through a small area or you're going out onto a crappy road. That really shouldn't hold that much traffic. But that being said, following guidelines, the only thing that I could throw at it is the conditional use permit, but that.
Apparently that's not an issue.
That's not an issue.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it's like all this.
What's that?
Go ahead, Steve.
I just think, as much as I hate to see things like this happen, I mean, the legal aspects of it have all been met. The zoning
requirements involved in that. You have problems with it, maybe we should go back to those areas, but it seems like you do that on this right now, but.
I would just like to submit that the issue about the water really needs to be addressed. And I think if nothing else, if it were to be approved, that we approve it with, we recommend an approval based on there being a water study conducted. That's a suggestion I have.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
At
We've
least.
heard that issue in the meetings in the past about water pressure in different parts of the city, and this well up there by Cromwell is supposed to satisfy all those
It will
things.
help,
So,
but
still, we got 148 new units going in, and
Yeah, to say that you're simply not going to do it, to me, doesn't cut it. You know what I mean? I think you've got to look at it in order to be fair.
what do you think, Audrey?
I have a question for Garrett. If we're compelled to recommend this because it meets all requirements as stated, do these people have the right to appeal to the city council?
Well, so absolutely, because you're just a recommendation, and then city council will make a decision based upon.
Is that decision, though, appealable?
Absolutely. So the process.
So that's probably their best recourse.
Well, so the way the process works is you guys make a recommendation, and then the record, which is everybody's comments and the minutes and the documents and everything, go to city council. They ultimately make a decision one way or another. And we've seen it where they disagree with you and they go the other way and what have you. But then a motion to reconsider would get filed if whoever was aggrieved, so to speak. And then if that still doesn't go that way, then anybody that has standing can file a judicial review. That's where it becomes really important for you to look at the facts, and if you disagree with, you know, that it doesn't meet a code section, or, you know, you disagree with the traffic study for some reason, you've got to have facts to back that up, and that's what the judicial review would look at.
So we would have to have facts.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just say, you know, the traffic study.
Yeah.
Well, you would have to say, I think the traffic study is wrong for
X
these
reasons. Right.
Like Jerry pointed out, you know, if she went out and counted them manually, if that was your basis for it, that's a factual review. So that's what you've got to weigh.
There's not one of us here who wants to say yay. Not one. But we're bound by.
I think that's the important thing for everyone to understand, is that we have legal standing that we have to consider, and according to everything that's been reported to us, it meets all of our ordinances and conforms substantially to the comprehensive plan, so how can we deny it? I'd entertain a motion.
Light on the numbers.
I motion we.
I don't think we can do it.
Well, I'm sorry, it has to be done one way or the other, so, and it's up to y'all.
I move that we recommend approval to the city council.
Any conditions?
Do a water study at the tap.
Garrett
Okay.
will record that in the findings of facts.
Yeah, no, I'm writing it down as we speak.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I have a question. Can you also add to that condition that the traffic study be done in July or beginning of September as opposed to?
Frankly, I think
January?
they have taken that all into consideration. I mean, professionally, the traffic study considers all of that, and unless we've got,
Only if they're aware of it.
Now, I'm going to say this, because it's interesting, I mean, since we're still talking about it, I guess.
yeah, we're still,
Traffic comparison.
You know, when the county is going to determine whether they're repaving a road or doing X, Y, or Z, they actually do a physical count. They put the box out and do it. They did it by my house over by the 6th grade this last summer. You know, I think where I think a generic study using data is okay. I'm not opposed to saying that we would like a hard written study, and I do appreciate you guys putting forth the effort without that being a requirement already. But
Well, everything, like I say, I went through the traffic report, and there were counts taken. I don't know how they do that, whether they do it with some kind of camera, or they have somebody who stands there and counts them, I don't know. It just said that it was counted, and then they do mathematical studies to look at peak times and non-peak times. And frankly, according to the traffic study that's been prepared, there's no reason for us to deny this project related on traffic. I'm sorry, it's in the study, okay? It's in the study.
Well, if it's your grandkid that gets hit walking to church, then we'll discuss that.
But if you want to make it a condition, I mean, that's your prerogative, so.
I don't think it hurt.
I don't think it hurt either. Let's add
Your
it.
recommendation, your motion.
Let's add it.
Okay. So the motion would be to recommend approval conditional on a water study at the tap and a additional traffic study.
A physical traffic study.
Physical traffic study.
Okay. Any desire to amend the motion? Are we good? Okay, and I still need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Begrudgingly.
All right. Okay, it passes with those conditions. Let's see, the next item on the agenda. Find my agenda here in all these papers.
The administrative report.
Right. Okay, administrative report, city happenings. Travis.
Yep. I'd like to report that the Twin Bridges project is in its final design, and we plan to possibly pave it with our city paver this summer. We've got projects lining up for that paver, and so it may be pushed to another summer after that. But there is funds in it for it. The America 250 project is going to be showing patriotic movies for matinees on weekends all through the month of March for America 250. The final design, it's in final design for the levee to fill Jetson's Grove. We're waiting on an application to come back from the Idaho Department of Water Resources, and they are also being advised by the Idaho Fish and Game for trout spawning season, so we don't disturb that while we repair the levee. Well 14, right now they're doing flow samples. Everything is passing so far and doing really good on well 14. When they get all the testing done on it, they'll have to go into a design phase to design the infrastructure to be able to operate it. But it's drilled. They saved a little money on it. They hit some bedrock, so they didn't have to encase it all the way to 400 and some odd feet to do that. So we saved a little money there. Pendleberry Lane is in finalization and probably will begin in 3 to 4 weeks for an open bid to be able to widen that. That's been a long process, trying to get the easements or be able to purchase the ground outright or get permission from the State Hospital South in order to be able to develop Pendleberry up to Alice. According to our Chamber of Commerce, there's a business tour that you can register for with Glambia Foods on March 26th. A lot of these business tours are very interesting on how they operate within. I attended one with Sputnik myself last month. I was very interested, so I encourage anyone that would like to see how they operate, register for that tour through the Chamber of Commerce. There's a Community Blessing Day coming up on February 28th at the Moreland Building in the county. They need volunteers to set up the event. What they do is come shop for what you need, do not need to donate or to participate. It's a thrift sale, you might say, that doesn't cost anybody anyone. They take donations year round, save in a storage locker, and then one day they have a free yard sale. You take what you need on that. And that, what's that? It's at the Moreland Building at 175 North, 740 West. So if you want to help with that charitable organization, I encourage that. The Kiwanis of Blackfoot present a food drive for the Bingham Crisis Center. You can drop off food either at the Chamber of Commerce office or at it's at the Enterprises building on Cedar Street. What they need is non-perishable food, blankets, pillows, travel utensils, coats, can openers, bottled water. You can contact Tori Hutchinson with Dawn Enterprises, that's the name of the building on Cedar, to donate to that food drive. There's also a pancake breakfast buffet fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. This is sponsored by Travis Packard at the Blackfoot Elks Lodge on Saturday, March 7th. At the Bingham County Senior Center at 20 East Pacific, $10 person or $6 for ages 10 and under. They have other things that besides pancakes if you want to purchase them, but that supports a good cause for Meals on Wheels, and that's all I have for city happenings.
All right, thank you very much. If there's no other business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your testimony.